get a last name. I had one.
We just got a report in that there's been some sort of explosion at the World Trade Center in New York City.
I remember sitting in geometry, high school. I'm pretty sure I was a sophomore. Yeah, and all of a sudden, the principal went over the PA, the teachers turned on the TVs, and it was just shock and disbelief.
That looks like a second plane come in just from the right-hand side of the screen.
And to know that, you know, there was going to be a response to it, like I wanted to be part of the response to it. Obviously, I was only in 10th grade at the time, so next year I was signing up with the military at 17. 2003, I enlisted. I went from 2003 to 2016 with the Minnesota Army National Guard. Fortunately, I never was personally injured in a serious way. Had a lot of close friends that lost limbs, pass away. Yeah, it was crazy.
Please welcome, with 20 years of service, Staff Sergeant Troy Johnson.
I enlisted June 14th, so pre-9/11, and I ended up being in infantry. I kind of cartwheeled into that. And 9/11 happened when I was down in Fort Benning, Georgia. And that kind of paved my career moving forward, especially being in the infantry. I was active duty for almost 3 years out of Fort Riley, Kansas. Did 2 tours out of that. I went to Kuwait, and then I went to Iraq in 2003. I ended up getting out of the active duty, joined the National Guard, and wow, 20 years later doing that, I did tours in Afghanistan with the National Guard, the withdrawal of Iraq in 2011, 2012, and then most recently in 2020 and 2021, I went to the Horn of Africa in Djibouti and Manda Bay, Kenya. And I will be retiring from service in February. So just shy of 24 years.
Please welcome, with 23 years of service, Master Staff Sergeant Josh Revere.
I was just leaving from Germany, and I was at an Applebee's. And when I saw the planes hit at that Applebee's, I knew I had to get back into uniform immediately. It almost felt like a game where I wasn't in, and I needed a coach to get me back in quick. My service in the armed forces, it is essentially my identity. It's who I am. My service, it identifies who I want to be and who I continue to be, who I teach my children to be. You know, so it really identifies who I am. Going into something so profound and so life-altering, you know what I mean? It really shook me up as a human being. And after that first deployment, I started to look at life a little bit differently. The high stakes of life were important to me, and things just didn't seem to matter that shouldn't matter, if that makes sense.
Please welcome, with 17 years of service, Sergeant Keith Robinson.
Well, Carol, as you can see, there is this huge cloud of smoke behind me, and that is the location of the Pentagon. We had come here to National Airport to, continue our coverage of the situation in New York because the airports had been shut down. No sooner had we gotten here and stopped the car than we looked up, and there was this cloud of smoke billowing from the Pentagon.
We heard the plane hit the Pentagon, and within a day or two we were down. Same day we were down, mainly performing perimeter security, making sure that no one could get in to the Pentagon, and also because people were trying to go back in to help fellow service members that were still in their trap. And then it turned into more of a recovery effort there. Was coming off of active duty, and I joined after 4 years, joined the Minnesota National Guard. And I was in the National Guard for about 6 months, and immediately, hey, found out we're going to Iraq.
Please welcome, with 6 years of service, Staff Sergeant Tim Nelson.
December 2nd, we hit a pretty good sized IED. 2 were killed in the blast. 1 severely injured, lost both legs.
I remember waking up on the ground, seeing my legs. Essentially, they were amputated from the bomb blast. I didn't think I was going to survive. I was pretty sure my life was going to end. But I remember trying to stay calm, obviously being in shock. But my buddies that were in the vehicle ahead of me, more guys from the Minnesota Army National Guard, they came back. They put tourniquets on my legs. They performed buddy aid in order to keep me stable until the medevac helicopter got there. And then 35 surgeries later, I'm back in Minnesota living the dream. Life is good.
Please welcome, with 10 years of service, Sergeant John Creasel.
Today, our fellow citizens, our way of life, our very freedom came under attack in a series of deliberate and deadly terrorist acts. The victims were in airplanes or in their offices, secretaries, businessmen and women, military and federal workers, moms and dads, friends and neighbors. None of us will ever forget this day, yet we go forward to defend freedom and all that is good and just in our world. Thank you, good night, and God bless America.
Hy-Vee has a special thank you for our veterans today. Veterans, you are receiving free groceries for 1 year. On behalf of Hy-Vee and the Minnesota Vikings, thank you for your service.